First of all, thank you so very much for your patience with the mega hiccup at the beginning, right? No live event is real unless there's some kind of technical problem, which we had quite severely. But we're really, really glad that you all made it. You're still here. We've collected some questions from you actually in the chat. So we're just gonna dive right into it. Yeah, whatever you want to share, keep popping them in the chat.
Recording in progress.
Okay, got it.
Fine, thank you.
As we promised, we're recording everything so that we can chop it up and put it online as well afterwards. So yeah, you guys have a funny view of us. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive right into it. One of the first questions that was asked by the audience was, can you clarify, or can we clarify again, what's the difference between games and gamification? So first of all, thanks a lot for asking this question. I'll try to get it over with in a couple of seconds. So gamification is when you take some tools, right, like rewards or points, competition or leaderboard, you know, these tools that you have from a game, you take them, but you put it in an existing service model, right? So think a classroom, think a banking branch, right? But you add these, let's say, gamified experience on top of the service model so that you can boost engagement with your customer. Games are, however, completely different. Games is an entire world where the world itself has its own rules, you have clear goals, you have tasks that's given to the players that is always matching the player's capability. So, you know, when you start, it's super simple, but as you level up, it gets harder and harder. So in that world itself, it should be very engaging and create like a very focused experience, right? So this is the difference, like the fundamental service model of games is different to a classroom or to a bank.
Yeah, and we experienced that exactly. It's getting messed up a bit or confusing because it's containing the same word, but it doesn't mean it's the same. And I would say some real life example is broker services that are looking nice and cute.
Yeah.
But in reality, the risk is very material and the risk did not change at all. And I would say that is the major issue with gamification, because it really covers up the real material risk while it looks nice. And it's even harder for the consumer to understand, or for the customer to understand, what the nature of that risk is he or she is entering into now. While a game is a game, and a game is something like, I would say, a safe zone actually, and you're well embedded. You can make sure you're not endangered. While gamification does not tell you the truth, right?
Yeah. And actually, Matthias, you brought a good point, because when we say games are safer, because games are by nature educational, right? It tries to teach you what you're supposed to do, and it only gives you like difficult things to go up the level. There's something we call flow, for example, in the game design, which is actually reflecting everything I just talked about. It's like a state where the difficulty of the task always matches with the player's capability, so that they're not frustrated nor bored at the same time. Right? So that really sets the difference.
So I think most recently, final point to this, SEC goes, so that the US regulator, one of the regulators in the US, actually goes after those companies who are camouflaging the risk too much with gamification. Not to mention any name now, guys from Sherwood Forest, not to mention any name now. Sorry, couldn't hold it.
Yeah, okay, moving on. So one of the audience have asked, where did these financial data come from, right? We talked about financial data in games, where is this coming from? So actually the financial data that our platform is ingesting comes from stock exchanges directly, comes from official data providers that are also feeding to licensed services such as a bank or an investment bank trading company. And also something that is very unique to our platform is that we have an engine called the knowledge engine. So with that, a customer of ours can actually take product information or anything that they want to communicate and educate their audience with, and configure those data into the game using our knowledge engine. And I think this also answers the question about compliance training.
Yeah, I love that question, Connie. Thank you so much for asking that question. No, I would say any kind of training. Actually, I had a meeting last week in London in particular about that topic. what kind of trainings you could do for corporations, in particular financial services corporations, such as banks, whatever. Yeah, of course, and it would be definitely more than just having a questionnaire, like, or a quiz, where you have a question and then you have 5 or 3 different answers to go, and then you move on. So no, absolutely, it's I would say this is suitable for all and everything. There are already games out there that are simulating the setup of a company and so on. So there's well. I think the options are limitless, and yes, they could be used for any kind of purpose, also for skilling up and skilling the team. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So let me see. Next question. Nadia has asked, what about data security? So that thanks very much for bringing that up. So regarding data security, I would just directly give a use case, right? I mean, we can talk all about technology and how everything is hosted on Azure and if it's the normal standard, the banking standard. But if we talk specifically about use case, I'm assuming who is most worried about this would be a licensed institution, such as a bank. If you would use our platform to create games or use our games, actually, we talked earlier about integrating your user profile with ours. Actually, the method of integration would be that you pass over, let's say, a unique ID, an anonymous ID. So all the player profile on our platform is actually anonymous. Like, we don't know, let's say, the KYC information, the actual banking transaction of this person. What we know is only their gameplay, right? So where do they click? How much do they select a certain activity to play on? How well they did, their levels? And this information is accessible by you through the dashboard, and the bank would be the only one who can make that connection back to like an individual person.
And the player.
Back to the player, exactly. Yeah. So like no one on the platform.
The player, him or herself, also could be getting the information.
If the bank makes it available to them. Yes.
How good am I doing? How,
yes.
Yeah. And so on.
But that's the decision of our B2B customer who is utilizing our software tool to provide the service.
Acting as a publisher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm so happy I understood our concept.
Yeah.
Joking, guys, joking. After all that stress, joking.
Yeah, so what kind of financial skills can be taught or learned from playing FE games?
Well, yeah, thank you, Tracy, sending that over. Actually, there is no limitation again, I have to say, and we learn it by conversation after conversation with potential B2B customers. What are the fields of interest? Yes, of course, the team setting all this up, we created now a series of, I would say, first wave games, so to say. Some of them are more focused around the stock markets. Why? Because we think the stock markets are in particular interesting, having a lot of data flow, real-time data flow, allowing a massive interaction with those game mechanics or based on game mechanics. But at the end of the day, really, the sky's the limit. We already created concepts saying, okay, how can you teach maybe on historical data? How can you make it happen that you can learn about compound interest rates? Or I could even see games coming up about loan and loan behavior and how to keep your finance healthy and so on. So maybe how to set up an SME and how to fund that. Again, it's really that's the nice thing about games, and this is why I'm so happy that we are actually moved over from regulated banking container into plain field of nice games, because at the end of the day, the sky is honestly it's the limit. The concepts are limitless.
Yeah, and actually, this I would say connects really well with Simon's question. Are there games that are suitable for kids and tweens as well as adults? And I would say more or less that answers the question, right? So again, with our knowledge engine, it is your choice then, right? Which, let's say, game format, right? We saw the cards game earlier. We talked about different mechanics and format. Using what format do you want to teach what content to whom, right? So it's really about who is your target audience, what type of content and knowledge and takeaway you would like the target audience to have, and all of that can be then structured on the platform to be fed through the games. Of course, that it also pointing out not every game teaches everything, because that would make the game itself probably really boring, right?
Yeah.
So we need to find the right structure to teach that game. For example, we have a game that is training people on candlestick strategy, where you're actually jumping and running on top of the candlesticks, right? And learning about how that works. So
that's the knowledge engine?
Exactly, and that's based on the knowledge engine and actually the matching mechanics. And such a content, I mean, I can't judge, but to be honest, such a content I think would be very fun and interesting for children, right? Because their takeaway and their perspective of it might be different, but it's absolutely useful for older people as well, because those are real life skills.
I can't wait for that candlestick game, because I never got that. Really? Seriously, I never understood that. No, I couldn't, never, you know? So, to be very honest, no, just a little. No, but I think what it makes so valuable is, again, that knowledge engine, because we can fly in questions or bits and pieces of information. We can maybe come to the point where you play a game, you have 50 Excite coins, you did win, and you can double that if you answer the question correctly then, and so on. So I think we can make this knowledge adoption very, very entertaining. And and that's what games are. And we do not invent that, you know, we do not reinvent that. It's already existing. So it's an accepted actually behavior within video and casual video games.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the audience, Dom, asked, we gave the example earlier about loyalty points that can be moved into the game as game coins for increasing playing. What about like game coins becoming loyalty points, right? Going back the other way. And, you know, just imagine, like, I would say absolutely, that is absolutely the intention, right? Because there are service providers that allows people to use loyalty points just as you would with mileage, right? To exchange for maybe a voucher, maybe some discount, maybe early access to a new product that is coming. So absolutely, it should be a two-way back and forth interaction to basically reward people for engagement, for learning, right? Because you've given someone a game to learn and get better, and if they're using it, you're basically rewarding them to become a better customer of yours. So, a couple questions. I mean, I will do a quick one first.
Nina, about the crypto adoption.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's also going hand in hand with René, actually, I would say.
Yeah.
Hi, René. Well, the answer only is yes, and out of one particular reason. As I shared that example and learning out of the DAB Bank days that people are losing money, well, I could have said the same maybe about crypto trading for some people. You know, of course, the strong increase of crypto valuation might have saved somebody's ass, so to say, on that, sorry. However, I think it makes a lot of sense that people have an easy way into that, and in particular a risk-free way into that crypto trading. Just compare that to a flight simulation. You know, you never enter into a plane and say, listen guys, here we go, I start flying now. No, you would do training and you would do flight simulation before you enter into the plane for the first real flight. And this is exactly the same philosophy we are following there. So whatever kind of underlying asset, so to say, is more than welcome. We kind of calculated the total amount of underlying assets that we would have by stocks, by FX, by also then crypto. I think globally we have access to more than 11,000 different underlying assets, including ETFs and so on. So all games that will come up that will be kind of trading related or stock market related, so to say, will be extremely flexible, you know, with the underlying asset itself to the game is absolutely flexible. So we can exchange that, add that, and it can be all in everything, you know?
Yeah, and so we ourselves, like, do we plan to have games that will help speed up crypto adoption? So, you know, coming back to our positioning, right? We provide a platform for businesses to achieve their different purposes. And actually, one of our very new customer that signed up recently, they're a fintech startup that is focusing in the crypto space, and they're exactly using our games to create engagement and touch points with their customer to have like a fun environment to increase awareness and crypto adoption. One of the audience asked if we offer the backend to build games on it. What about existing games? Can they plug into the platform? There's only one word to that. Yes, a big fat yes, absolutely. The APIs are standardized. The interface is at the moment Unity compatible, which is super important to us because we know a lot of game developers are using Unity as a tool for them. So our first step is to achieve Unity compatibility, and we will, take future steps to increase the compatibility to other game development engines. So we absolutely welcome that. Mm-hmm.
It's a must.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Christopher just popped a question in. So there are different compliance standards across different markets. For example, data privacy and financial standard. How would we address this? So Chris, thanks very much for bringing this up because actually the point is what I mentioned earlier, same example with the bank, right? It is actually whoever is our customer, which is the business, they are the ones in control of what level of customer data that would then be utilized by them and to interact with their end user, right? So the scope of information data on our platform will be limited to anonymous gameplay behaviors. And to that regard, this actually is then kind of freeing us from the complexity of regionality of different regulations. So
because we could say in easy terms, we could say actually we try to follow the highest standard, which automatically should be applicable to any other regulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? And today, what we also, you mentioned that indirectly because Uwe and his company, we are running on their servers today.
We're on Microsoft Azure.
Yeah, and their standards are, and Uwe and the team's standards is banking standard.
Level. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, that's our background as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just somewhere it's not Tracy's laptop in the garage.
No.
There is no garage.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
but it's really banking standard. This is, I think this is also the positive about the background we bring to the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Philip raised the question a little bit earlier.
Philip, stay on the line now. Don't say goodbye because we answer your question.
But Philip, before you go, the answer is yes, absolutely. Already as of today, we have built in different ad spaces at the right point in the game so that a business customer who utilizes the game can put in their ads. The very first step is to have logos, banners, colors, linking, and then we will also have spaces where you can put in a short video that's clickable, interactive. Absolutely. And we are basically expanding our network in the game industry to create access to support our B2B customer in creating gamified interactive ads, right, to put in the games, which is kind of the standard you see in casual games these days.
Actually, if I may, yeah, so yes, nothing to add to this, but what crossed my mind now to one of the earlier questions is, because we've seen a lot of questions like, is that game possible? Is this game possible? What can we do? Mm-hmm. So whenever there would be, for instance, now what would be the process if there would be a financial services partner or B2B, like a bank, would walk up to us and say, listen, I understand the principal idea of using video games for whatever kind of an ambition or objective, actually. But the games you have today, well, I don't like them so much whatsoever, but I would have own great ideas. So what would be the process? So first of all, the offer would be the Tradelite builder.
Yeah,
on the one side. So that's the offer, and there's a lot of more information on our website now. So the Tradelite builder would be the offer. We would maybe do a kind of workshop together with you, the bank, and we then also would integrate, or we would reach out into our network, acquiring the right or looking for the right game developers out there who could support that project. And then it's up to the bank and the game developers to create that game. So to make it pretty easy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, what we really want to make sure is, we talked about this in the session earlier, is to really help our B2B customers align their business strategy with the game they're creating, right? So it is absolutely not the right thing to say, doesn't matter who my customer is, doesn't matter what is the goal, let's put in a game just to look cool, right? And that's not sustainable, right? And that doesn't create value. So we do take the process with you to understand your goals, who are your audience, what are you trying to address. There's already, we've actually done a lot of market research and collected a lot of data analytics ourselves to make sure that we can help you quickly identify, let's say, for example, if your target audience is in the age, let's say, between 20 to 30, and if these are their interests and these are the backgrounds they have, what kind of games they love the most, right? What is the best way to keep them engaged, and what kind of competition, right? Is it peer versus peer competition? Is it teaming up competition? So there's a lot of content and details to be decided about a game if you want to build one yourself on our platform, and we support you with this.
Another point for that number of games, because why are we not focusing only on one game? Because I think it really makes actually sense to have a bouquet or a basket of games in order to test the acceptance with your audience, the customer base, or whatever the market you want to kind of publish into. Because there might be the one game they will not like, but there might be another one they will like. So whenever you have more than one game, the risk actually that there's one game that is not being accepted is actually massively reduced. And the success of whatever kind of a campaign or measure you want to execute is actually easier to achieve. So this is why we also then could say, that's why we also could say then, well, maybe the one game is not working, we can take another one, and so on and so forth. So it's portfolio management. Hey, you bankers out there, it's a game portfolio management, actually.
Exactly. And I mean, we all play more than one game in our lives.
Yeah.
Right. So having the options, you can reach different people, different demographic, and that's why we said earlier, like using the platform is scalable, because if you do, let's say, the onboarding and integration one time, you can then add another game quicker and quicker because you already have the setup.
Tracy, I'm hungry.
Yeah, so guys, really thank you so much for being with us today. We know we're massively delayed. So for those of you who needs to go to lunch, needs to go to dinner, wherever you are in the world, we really appreciate
Sydney
your support.
is already in bed, probably. I think we've seen some guests from Sydney. Thank you for
somebody
joining.
asked if the session will be recorded, so absolutely, and it will be shared.
Philippines is are we?
And the last thing is really keep in touch with us.
Yeah.
Somebody did ask, like, how can they access the games one day? So they will be made available through our test lab, which is coming soon. We will update you and let you know over LinkedIn, over our website. And for those of you who have signed up to the marketing newsletter, we will let you know through email as well. So we try not to spam you. But guys, thanks so much.
No, honestly. And thank you again for your patience in the beginning. Believe me. We've been stressed out over here, right? Absolutely stressed out. You should see, we take some photographs of the situation now. We had to move around and so on and so forth. It was stressful, right?
So,
thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Matthias. Well, that's a wrap.
Wonderful.
High five.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I missed
that. All right, thanks everyone. We're logging off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Speak soon, everybody.